or nothing. It's just a output saying that application for safe and secure certification. Your response has been recorded. So my advice to our dear colleagues and members is once you submit, it's always better you call the tourism authorities and double check whether they have got your application, because we assume that you have applied and we have got a document like this, but there is no reference number, no name, nothing. So it's always advisable once you apply, call them and check with them whether they have got your application. And once you apply, you will get, once you apply, you will get a mail from KPMG saying that they have got it and the way they are going to do this process. In that mail, they will tell that there will be a desktop review and also there will be an on-site assessment. But the problem with this mail is it doesn't give any timelines or anything. I mean, the mail what we got. I mean, now I don't know whether they have changed their policies and procedures or way of doing. But the mail what I got from KPMG didn't mention by which date we should submit our documentation. So I called them and I asked from them when should we supposed to hand over all these documents you have requested. The response was within 7 days. So I told them clearly that it's difficult. So I requested 11 days. My advice for you all is, if in case in your mail, if they have not mentioned a date, please call and check. And you don't always have to adhere to what they say about the deadline, but you can tell, okay, this is the feasible date. So you can ask, say, 2 weeks, 14 days. Probably you will get it, because I mean, you don't have to rush for this process, then you can do it comfortably. As soon as we get this mail from KPMG, and as soon as we see the documents they have asked, and as soon as we see the document, this is the first mode we get into. And also, I asked one of my managers to go through it, and she had the same kind of feeling. CEO, how are we going to do this? They have asked many documents. Can we prepare all these documents within the given timeline? But I can understand the rationale behind our worries, and I can understand why we are so upset or worried about this process, is because the number of instructions given or the expectation has not been explained properly in any of these documents. So if you can see, there are only 7 instructions given to us to fill this big document and to do all our documentation. Whereas, as you know, that if you go to a village council to get a street line certificate, they will give you a bigger instruction sheet to fill that street line certificate application than this. So I can understand the worry what you have and what my manager had when I asked her to, start the process. So if I look at this application sent by them, it's an Excel sheet. There is a basic information tab. In that you have to put your basic company information, and there is another tab whereas we have to give general information, especially inside our company, how we keep our safety protocols and safety procedures. And then tab 2, which is page 2, and 3 is more about operational, and under tab 3 the point 5 is more about post-war measures. So this is basically about it. But don't worry, as industry, we have done even bigger things before. As we have done, I'm sure all of us we will be able to achieve, and we will all be able to get the certification, because they are not talking a rocket science. It's a matter of putting a time and effort and preparing documents and filling the application properly, then we can achieve it. There is no problem. If you ask my advice or my personal experience of getting this certification successfully, my first advice is to establish a team for the certification process. For example, in our office, I got my operations manager, my transport department manager, my marketing department manager, and HR member from HR department, and we established a team and we assigned jobs to each and every team member in order to fill this form and to see whether we have documents which are requested by the KPMG. But same time, the NCAR size is not the same as other company size. For example, say if you think about Aitken Spence or Workers, then it's a different size, different structure. Also, there are companies whereas smaller structures, smaller ways, smaller capacity. So that is okay. But basically, within your company, you can identify few people for this application process. The second advice I want to share with you is we should understand KPMG. The most important thing you should understand is KPMG, they don't know, or KPMG, they do not know tourism. So the staff there, they don't understand what is tourism. So you should be able to present your documents, or at the site inspection, you should be able to convince them and explain them what our business is all about. Because what KPMG looking at is the documentation. I mean, being a university lecturer and working for some consultancy company, I know these companies are mainly looking at policies, procedures, and documents. They like to see documents. So they want to see documents, but as tourism professionals, we know the practical side of it. So how to match their expectation, document expectation, and our practical side is a challenge here. So it is very important that in this context. The second thing is, I want to tell you in this questionnaire, please do not leave any question unanswered. Please don't do that. So please answer all the questions in the document. The fourth and important advice I want to give you here, or experience I want to share with you here, is provide supporting documents as much as possible. As I told you before, any consultancy company, they like to see documents, right? So in this context, what you can do is whatever the documents you have, provide as much as possible. But same time, this does not necessarily mean that you have to provide a different document for each and every question that they have asked. In your company, you may have 3 documents, 4 documents, 5 documents, maximum 10 documents, 12 documents related to this. So use those limited documents to answer all these questions. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to create different documents to answer all these different types of questions. And again, I want to explain you here what is the objective of Tourism Development Authority and KPMG. They just basically want to check whether we are ready to operate in a post-COVID situation, whether our office has got operational guideline document or operational procedure document. As far as we have documented that, that is fine. That is absolutely fine. But in that document, we have to have a 360-degree operation covering all the aspects of our business. So when we talk about operation, the main thing which comes to our mind is starting from the airport, ending from the airport. But in here, they expect much more. They expect health and safety procedures of our office, as well as health and safety procedures which we have communicated with our clients. So these documents need to start from the client or our agents in overseas, and then the tour operation together with the office. So that's why I mentioned here, this operational document need to cover our office, our agents, tour leaders and chauffeurs, drivers and bus helpers, other suppliers such as boat suppliers, jeep suppliers, and hotel suppliers, etc., etc. So our document need to cover all the important aspects or parts of our operation. So the next question is, excuse me. Sorry. The next question is, for this, are we going to do one document or many documents? So actually, if you can do one document, I mean, you can do this in one document. You can have a comprehensive operational procedure, operational guideline document in your office. You may have already done it in your office. But my advice is, knowing the psychology of KPMG, knowing how people are assessing things, you can segregate that document into small parts, having that big document to address different areas. For example, you can have in the main document, you can have you can take one out and set one only for our office procedures, how we are going to operate our office in this COVID situation. You can have one document covering the procedures and protocols for our tour leaders, chauffeurs, drivers and helpers and other suppliers. You can have one for the hotels and one for what we communicate with our agents or clients. So you can have about 4 or 5 different types of document. End of the day, you can, if you want to, you can put into one document. So now the next problem is how to prepare them. So now I just mentioned you that we need about good 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 documents. Now automatically it comes to your mind from where to start. To be honest with you, there are many resources available. Actually, there are documents already available for us to use. For example, Health Ministry, if you can remember last July, I suppose, or no, not last July, last April or May came out with a comprehensive document with all the operational procedures. It has a lot of many other relevant things for us as an industry, but you can take relevant parts from that document for this process. It has how we should operate office in this COVID context. So you can take that. In that document, you have some instructions for tour operators. So you can take that part as well for your procedure document. And if you look at the second document, the document which is issued by SLTDA has comprehensive detailed information about our operation. So again, this is going to be an important resourceful document for you to prepare document. So what you can do is you are going to present this document as it is. What you can do is you can extract the important points and you can produce own documents for your office. You can produce own document for yourself as operational documents. And if you look at this third document, which is start with IBON, this document was produced as you know, we all expected airport opening on 1st of August. For that, just before that, there was a document came out with what kind of things we are going to do from 1st of August in terms of getting PCR tests back in the country, at the airport, and staying close to the airport at the first night. All that instructions and guidelines are there in that document. Also, the fourth document is, I have just only taken a sample document, whereas you can see almost all the big hotels in Sri Lanka has issued operational guideline document. So what we did as NCAR, we collected all these hotel operational procedure documents, and we prepared one document taking almost all the hotels have the same thing, but taking that, putting the missing parts, we did our own one, so that became our hotel operational procedures, which we could in return inform our agents about it. So almost all these documents are available. Further, this is the latest one which came out last night, the Hahu of opening the airport on the 1st of January. So there is a new document has come out with policies and procedures and steps. So you can use this document as well in order to prepare your operational guideline document. And further, still if you are lacking or trying to find more details, of course, www World Wide Web is a fantastic resource, good friend of us. So you can always use and get help from this as well in order to prepare your documents. And then once you prepare documents, I just put this slide for you to share with you. Once you prepare the documents, so you have to send on the day you promised that you are going to send. And in that document, what I'm just trying to say, you know what I'm trying to say here. Don't put all these attachments in one mail. Definitely the mail is going to be bounced back. So please just put the basic Excel sheet and the basic information PDF sheet and send it, and tell that you are going to send all the supporting documents in next few mails. Use 2-3 mails to send your supporting documents. In that way, your main mail is delivered without any problem. Now we are in the second stage, how to fill the application and giving supporting documents. This is pretty much boring, I would say, stuff I'm going to do now with you, because I'm going to take you through each and every question, which is boring stuff. But I will do that with you. So the first, this sheet, we have to, you can't fill online. You have to take a printout of this and you have to attach as a separate document. And from this page onwards, you can fill on the Excel sheet, and you can, then start filling and keep going. Now, if you look at the general part, so there are about 3 questions under general questions. They are mainly talking about office operation, and some questions are actually ambiguity situation with some questions, but let's try to understand. So if you look at the 1.1 question, is there a procedure, list of instructions or similar document which has been introduced and circulated on COVID-19 safe and secure measures to be followed? So they ask, if yes, please attach a guideline. So as I told you, don't keep anything blank, don't say no to anything. We have to prepare documents, and you have to say, I suggest not I'm ready, you have to, so it's always best to say yes and prepare documents for that. So our answer was, we have summarized the guideline documents of Health Ministry, which I just showed to you, and created one for income. And we have shared that with all our agents. So together with that, what we have done is we attached that summarized document which we extracted from Health Ministry document. We just showed it as a supporting document. Also, we just shared with them the mail we sent to our agents and our staff summarizing that. For example, say, by the time you are applying, if you have not done, still you can do that. Still you can forward it to your agents, then you have a documentary evidence. Still you can forward it to your managers. You can attach those mails also as evidence to show that you have actively done so. If you go to the second question, 1.2, is there an awareness program conducted on Ministry of Health recommended procedures when operating under COVID-19 conditions? If yes, provide evidence of awareness program. So basically in here, what they expect, what you have done in your office, are you following COVID protocols within your office premises? So our answer was yes. What we have done here, our HR department has sent out a mail indicating all the procedures to be followed before opening the office in May. Attach number 7, we attach that mail we sent to HR department, sent to our office. And the content of the mail was driven through a Zoom meeting by CEO once the office opened in May. If you think about here, if we mention here, actually we conducted a Zoom meeting. If we mention here, we had a meeting to conduct this, that itself shows that we have not followed health protocol. So it's very important to show KPMG, even within our office, we don't have big gatherings. We conduct Zoom meetings. So then they get the confidence automatically, okay, these people are serious about health and safety. Further, time to time, these protocols are brief department-wise. Why do we do department-wise? Because we don't want all the staff to come to one place. So we are doing it department-wise. Posters are displayed in key areas of office about health and safety. Sanitizers are placed for safety, and wearing mask is compulsory. I know all your organizations, all your staff are wearing masks, all your officers have sanitizers, all your office should have posters displayed in key areas. So what you can do in this kind of thing, just send them the photographs of them. Just send them the photograph of your sanitizers where you have kept. Just take the photographs of the posters you have displayed in your office. So they are your supporting documents to show them that you are following the health protocols within your office. Has your 1.3, has your organization developed a mechanism to manage COVID-19 suspected cases with collaboration with Ministry of Health and other local authorities? If yes, attach same. So the answer was yes. Comments? When we open the office twice a week, every morning we do shoe disinfection and temperature checking. So we have photos of that, we have attached them, and we have advised staff with fever, cough and cold not to attend the office. So we have sent them a mail, so we are attaching that mail copy as well. If any staff is identified with such symptoms, HR department staff have been trained on the process to handle. So that is that mail has been attached. There is an isolation room in our office if anyone feels sick, and HR department has been provided with emergency number, which is 1390, to inform the relevant authorities if something happens like that. So these things, I mean, easily you are implementing at the moment, I know for sure. If you are not doing, you can do that. I mean, you can easily give answers like this, because what they're asking is what we are doing in our office under this COVID situation. Excuse me. So the next, when we are coming to the next part, the second part, which is pre-identification of travel plans and arrangements. The question is 2.1. Do you have a standard communication material where you would request documents, information from a tourist prior to arrival to Sri Lanka to ensure health and safety compliance? If yes, provide a copy of communication material. So I think you can remember I showed you a document when the airport was about to open in 1st of August. They issued a document saying there should be a PCR test need to be done 48 hours before. There will be a PCR test done on arrival. First day they should stay somewhere close to Negombo. So if you have shared that with your agents, that is a very good first step or evidence for this question. Also, other than that, taking health authorities' instructions, as company, we have sent a checklist document. It's a one-page document, checking with our partners we have sent a basic checklist. Have you done PCR tests? Are your clients happy to wear masks during their stay in Sri Lanka? Will they bring sanitizers? Will they be wearing a mask? Will they happy to follow health and safety guidelines in Sri Lanka? If something happens, we would like to inform you that we will send them back. We will not continue the tour. And if they get infected, are they ready to go for 14 days quarantine period? Have you got your insurance policy ready? So all those things we have put into one document, and we have prepared a one checklist document for our agents. So they have to fill that and send to us before the group arrivals. That means they have understood and realized and agreed before they send clients to Sri Lanka. So you can prepare a similar document, then that would be the answer for this question. The next question is 2.2. Do you have a formal process to communicate the guest to revise the travel plan in the event of non-compliance? If yes, please attach a guidance given to staff members. So I just explained you that we have done a checklist document which have been shared with our partners, saying that they should be adhere to the rules and regulations of the country, they should wear masks, they should keep the social distancing, they can't use public transport. That same document, if you have shared with your staff, then you have answered this question as well. So there is no problem. You are using the same documents multiple times as answers. So you can use, even us, we have used the same document sometimes more than 5 or 6 times. There is no problem doing that. So the next question, 2.3, do you have health and safety checklist you would provide to tourists before they arrive to Sri Lanka? If yes, provide a copy of health and safety checklist. So again, this is the same thing they are asking. So for that, our answer was, we do have checklist. Then we are attaching our checklist. And the 2.4, the next question is, do you have an approved policy which states that guests who are visiting Sri Lanka shall stay their first night within first 20? The answer for that question is, we have informed all our agents that first night accommodation should be close to the airport, as on arrival PCR test release only on the following day. In most of our tours, the first night is anyway close to the airport. If not, we have informed our agents to change the itinerary to facilitate this. So if you have any mail, you can attach here informing if you have sent a mail informing your agents that first night needs to be close to the airport. If you have not sent a mail, even now you can send a mail and attach it because you have not applied it. So after applying it, if you send a mail, then KPMG can ask something. But if you have sent the mail and attach it, there is no problem. So you have done the correct thing. The next question, 2.5. Is your front-end team who communicate with tourists have been instructed to arrange facilities only with SLTD registered establishment who are safe and secure? Answer is yes. So our answer was, top management has taken a decision to use safe and secure certified hotels for all our bookings, which has been communicated to our staff as well. So basically, of course, if the SLTD expectation is for us to use safe and secure establishment, yes, we will do that. So we can take a management decision. You can, if you don't have mail evidence, you can say, yes, we have taken a decision only to use safe and secure establishment. Or if you have a mail, you can tell this, we have a mail informing about this to our staff and our agents. Or you can send a mail and attach it as a copy. This is what we have done. We have informed our staff. we have informed our agents that we are going to use only safe and secure certified hotels. Now we are coming to the third part of the question here, management responsibility for tourists and their movement. 3.1, are you allocating only SLTDA registered and certified tour guides, national guides, chauffeur guides, area guides, or city guides and other staff for your tours? Of course, answer is yes. I know all our Slido members are using registered chauffeurs and national guides. So without a problem, you can say yes to it. And also you can elaborate a little bit. Yes, we are allocating SLTDA registered guides and chauffeurs. Our operations department is sourcing all our national guides and department maintains file for that. And I want to share another information here with you. You may already know. Now with this certification process, now there is a new thing, whereas even our tour leaders and guides and our chauffeurs also need to obtain the certification. So I think at the time they prepared this, that was not there, or that was not their focus. Because of that, they have not asked the question in such a way, telling that whether they have got the safety certificate issued by KPMG or SLTDA. They are asking whether we are using a registered and certified guides, but the answer is yes, that's what we have been doing all this time. Do you have a registered mechanism to onboard the tour crew? Of course, we have a registration mechanism. That's how we recruit our crew. So the answer is we have operations department responsible sourcing all our national guides, and they maintain a file for that. Our transport department source chauffeurs and other guides, and they maintain reports for that. Basically, what we need to do, answer here is whether they are asking whether we have a registration process. Keep in mind, when they come here for the on-site inspection, they ask to produce and show those files, and you can show this is the file we are maintained to register all our tour leaders, this is the file we maintain to register our chauffeurs, this is the file we maintain to register all our transport suppliers, buses, cars, minivans, microvans, etc., etc. Then you know that what we mentioned here we can prove on-site at the on-site inspection. 3.3, have you communicated all crew to record and inform if they show symptoms of COVID-19? So this is the question. Now I want to share with you here. We did 3 documents with regard to our suppliers. Basically what we did was we made a document for all our tour leaders and guides. These are the protocols and procedures we follow from the time they arrive to Sri Lanka until their departure. How you greet them, how you maintain the distance, all that is clearly mentioned, especially the briefing. Briefing is very important. All that is clearly mentioned in that document. So that we did through our operations department with regard to guides and tour leaders. We did another document for our chauffeurs, bus drivers, and bus helpers. It's another document. And also we did a third document that is for all our suppliers, like boat suppliers, jeep drivers. It's again one-page small documents instructing them, explaining them how you should operate in this context. So we have 3 different documents. So in our documents, it's clearly mentioned, especially the document we prepared to guides, it clearly explains if any client show the symptoms, what they should do, In that document, we have given the emergency numbers. We have told them first you should inform the office, then the health authorities, then the operators. All that procedure has been explained in that, how to isolate the passenger, that particular client from the rest of the group, how to continue, or whether the entire group is going to be isolated or quarantined. So all that is clearly mentioned in that document. So if you have that kind of a document, as I explained you, 3 different documents, if you have much better. After that, you can put 3 documents together, so you can easily answer this question. How do you, the 3.3, how do you educate the tourists about the COVID-19 safety measures to be taken during their stay till the departure from Sri Lanka? So as I told you, we have done a document for tour leaders and bus drivers and bus helpers, as well as another document for other suppliers such as boat suppliers and jeep suppliers. So all these documents, we have explained what to do. So especially in our guide document, we have highlighted the briefing. Briefing is very important. So on the first day, we need to give clear instruction, clear briefing. In that briefing, you have to educate our clients what they should do, how they should behave in Sri Lanka, adhering to the rules and regulations of Sri Lanka and the health protocols. So we can say yes to it. So answer was, prior to the arrival, all the clients will be educated using the health and safety guideline document, which we have already sent to our agents. The tour leaders are being trained to educate the clients about the general guidelines. During tour briefing upon arrival, prior to tour begins, basic safety measures guidelines will be displayed using the illustrated posters. So we are basically displaying the posters and signs in the buses. Then they can see them while they are touring as well. 3.4, is there a health and safety checklist you would instruct your tour crew to be followed while on tour? If yes, please provide a copy of health and safety checklist. So our answer was yes, and our answer was yes, we have one. But I would say the manager who has been filling this was tired by the time we got to 3.4, the third page. I think we would have illustrated this a bit more. Yes, we have a document which instruct tour crew to follow while they are on tour. A long answer would be much better than my answer or our answer, yes, we have one. You know what I mean? So it's always better to be nice and explanatory and give information as much as possible. In this instance, I'm not happy with the answer which we have given. The fourth one and the last part of this questionnaire is, do you check and maintain the copies of PCR reports obtained by your tour crew? Answer was yes. How frequently do you obtain reports from each person? We just put monthly, to be honest with you. Are the reports available for verification of SLTDA with you? Yes. I mean, this is a situation where we have not seen or we have not done, and whereas at the time where we don't have any clue when we did, this was last September, we didn't have any clue when is the airport going to open. So in that kind of a context, it is very difficult to answer this kind of a question. But we can say, yes, we will do it. We are planning to one monthly. Yes, we will make the reports ready. So our answer was, once the airport opens and once the tourists start coming in, we are planning to take PCR tests. Until then, we can't tell anything about it. We can't commit. So our answer was, once the airport opens and once the tourists start coming in, we are planning to take PCR tests for all our tour leaders. As planned, we will only allocate guides and chauffeurs after a negative PCR test, which will be done once the airport opening is announced and 2 days prior to client arrival. Again, the fourth one, the 4.4, a list of items that tourists should carry while on tour. If yes, provide the checklist. So we say yes, and again we share the same document, the checklist document we sent to agents, as well as we shared here the other document, which is the briefing we have sent to, or checklist we have sent to our tour leader. The next question, are you providing digital infrared thermometers to the selected crew members in order to check the temperature of the guests during the tour? Yes. So the answer is, in our guidelines, we have mentioned that tour crew should check the temperature daily. Each vehicle will have a thermometer. Apart from that, hotels will also check the temperature while check-in. And again, we have given the checklist what we prepared. 4.6 are the interior of vehicles which are used to transport guests are being sanitized? If yes, explain. We said yes. So again, to sanitize vehicle, to give them instructions, at the time we didn't see when is the airport going to open, when is it going to happen. So our answer was, when the airport opens and tourists starts coming in, this will be done. So what we can tell here is only our plan. So that is we have given. So then there is the last part is coming in now only, sorry. So the last part is post-tour measures. Do you have a list of procedures a tour crew should follow at the end of the tour? Answer is yes. So we attached the document which we have prepared as guidelines for our drivers, our guides and our chauffeurs. And so that is about the Excel sheet. I'm just sharing this with you again, assuming this is important when you are submitting your documents. Because please remember, when you submit documents, for example, in our case, we submit about 28 documents. So when you bombard with 28 documents, they don't know which one is what, etc., etc. So we just send this extra document, attachment 1, the name of the document and basic content summary, and it relates to which questions. So then when they get this document, they know each document related to what. So I suggest you, when you are submitting documents, to send this kind of a document, so that will make their life also easy, and in the same way they understand that you are a professional outfit. And once you hand over your documents, after that you get an on-site assessment date. This is very, very important. You have to prepare for this on-site assessment day. You have to prepare entire office for this day, because this is the day what you are going to show what you have already documented. So now you have done the documents. By now you have a box file full of documents with the form you did, ready for this on-site inspection. Now when the day they arrive, please prepare your entire office. So assume when the inspector, the KPMG representative come in, say that you normally used to check the temperature every day, or you disinfect the shoes. So unfortunately, by the time this inspector comes or the KPMG staff comes, that person is missing at the reception area. Then you are making unnecessary situation. You had a chance to prove that you are professional, you miss that opportunity. When you are coming in, your staff are stacking together and having a chat or having lunch together, then you are giving impression to the KPMG staff that you are not practicing what you have mentioned in your document. And once they come in to your office, you can see some staff wearing a mask improperly or wearing a mask to their mouth. Then you are giving unnecessary impression that you are a professional or you are practicing. So likewise, as soon as you see him, you do a handshake because you welcome him. Again, you are upsetting. So you can say I born to show that you are concerned about health and safety protocol. So try to use this on-site assessment inspection to show that you are professional as much as possible. Make all the documents ready, show them and conduct a friendly meeting and prove you are a professional entity. You handling, I mean, because you know already tourism, it's your bread and butter. This is, we can easily execute that and, just prove yourself. And after the on-site assessment, once they go back to their office, they will send if they have any further clarification. For example, from us, they had a clarification about physical distancing because the health guideline document, it says 1 meter, but SLTD document, it says 1.5 meters. So they want us to have a 1.5 meter thing in all our documents. So we change it accordingly. And also they have asked about formal training. We clearly told them and answered, we are not going to do a training to our staff and guides until we know the date of airport opening. 2 weeks before only we will do the training. Otherwise, by the time they will forget everything. That is about the training that we told them at the on-site inspection. We mentioned that clearly again at the end. Again, they asked about digital thermometer. They told us that you have only 2. We told them no point investing money to buy digital thermometer at this stage. We will buy them when they announce the airport opening day and when the operation starts. Once you do that, you will get the certification. But getting the certification is not only the thing. You have to, now you have a document. You have obtained your certificate. You have to practice this. You have to maintain this. Now, once you get it, I got the certificate and put that file into your cupboard and forget about it. No, you have to maintain, update, practice, and keep it going. So once you do that, I think it's a successful thing. I hope I shared something important, but keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily mean what I did or what Nalin or Darshan is going to talk. By doing that, you definitely get the certificate, but I'm sure with your professionalism, with your experience, you should be able to get it. I hope this information sharing session, which I did, is useful. Or I hope it is not this kind of situation, or if in case if you got rejected, you will come out with something like this. Anyway, again, everyone, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much, like, to organizing this for the membership, and to the president, the executive committee, and especially the Bobby. She has been talking and telling me, Damien, we should do this for the industry. There are a lot of industry people who are struggling. We can't afford to pay 50,000. So I should thank her as well. And also my MD, Mr. Nanakkara, who told me, Damien, we should do this for the industry. And he actually not requested, he pushed me to do this. And he requested me, Damien, anyhow, we should help the industry. Also, I should say thank you to my staff, especially who are here with me, the Brian and Sandeepa, being here with me and supporting me. Thank you very much, everyone. Again, all the best.
Damien, I have a question. Can we question, or other people are going to do the presentation? And
I heard that after me, Nali and Darshan is going to do. So shall we finish that, please?
So I think before, I think other members forget, but to ask any questions if there is from Damien, Dr. Damien, and then we can proceed after that, because I think it's fresh in everybody's mind. And if there are any questions, better to finish it off and next part.
I don't mind either way. I'm fine with it. No problem.
Damien, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm Paddy. Being
Hi, Paddy.
a smaller organization, we do most of our work on WhatsApp. You know,
Sure.
we meet regularly.
Paddy, I think you're mute or you got disconnected.
So how can we substantiate that? Big challenge, no?
I'm with you, Paddy. I can understand, but explaining them the nature of your business.
I think something is happening to the connection.
Damien, you're muted.
Damien, are you there, Damien?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, Paddy. It is. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Paddy, what you can do is the things what you send through WhatsApp, if you want, you can send them as email also before you applying. And you can tell them, you can explain them, this is the nature of our business, because I know that mainly you are dealing with niches, right? And it's more PR related. I mean, your relationship with your agents is very personal. So you can explain that. I mean, as I told you that it's, as I just shared with you, it's very important to understand because they don't know all the nitty-gritties of or nature of our business. So if you, I mean, for example, say you are, I know the way you operate, Paddy, it's more PR related, friendly set of clients you have. So you may be dealing with on WhatsApp. So even you can take the copies of WhatsApp and say, I inform this on such and such a day through WhatsApp. And in order to follow this instruction, ID through the mails as well, if you want to. Or you can even go ahead with your WhatsApp document saying that this is what I did and this is the nature I operate. This is what I believe.
WhatsApp records are not there because we have to substantiate. That's my worry.
Right. Right. I think, Paddy, then in that case, even if you send those mails now, even because you are anyway sending them before you are applying, so that should be okay.
Correct. Okay. Thanks, Damien. Thanks for that. Very brief, very detailed explanation. Thank you so much. I think we have understood it.
Thank you, Paddy.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we've understood it now. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Any other questions? Right. Right. I think Dr. Damien went, and it was a very comprehensive presentation. Very comprehensive presentation. But when we got this questionnaire, to be honest, we also got a headache, right? So we thought this is quite difficult. Then what we did was, as Dr. Damien mentioned, we appointed a team of 3 to handle this. Of course, Anil and Tikiri, 2 of my colleagues, they spearheaded it, and they got the information, the documents, supporting documents and all that. So when you look at this questionnaire, it gives you a headache at the beginning. But when you start doing it over a period of time, you get used to it. So then it becomes a little easier. Then, of course, as a destination, what I feel is we need to have some common standards and best practices when it comes to health and safety protocols. And I think it will give us an advantage over some of our competing destinations. And also what will happen is the DMCs that have got this certification will also use it to their advantage. That is natural. So that also will happen. So therefore, now of course we have seen a letter sent by the chairperson, and she says that it is essential for all to have that certification. That is again, she's also talking about safety protocols and health guidelines and conforming to those or adhering to those standards that are expected to compete in the international arena. So we need to, I think, put our heart and soul. It is not easy. I can tell you, especially for a small organization with various limitations that are there, and also, people are trying to survive in these challenging times. With all the challenges, on top of that, when we have this, it is not easy. But my request is to try and get it done. Then from our side, whatever the help or the assistance that can be given, right? I'm sure INCA and also there will be a few other DMCs that will get this certification. I think if they are CITO members, all of us will help you all in whatever the way we can. Because from the looks of it, I think the airport also will be open in January. And as you all know, there is a very important meeting that is going to happen tomorrow. And if we have this certification, of course, we are not quite sure whether KPMG has done this in consultation with the Health Ministry and whether this is 100% acceptable to the Health Ministry. That I'm not sure, right? But I think as an industry, we should have the safety protocols and standards in place. Then I think it will be easy for us to compete. So I will put you all on to Anil Hapugada, my colleague, who spearheaded this project together with my colleague Tikiri. Anil, do you have any comments or anything that you need to say with your experience? Anil, are you there?
Yes, Malik.
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes. Yes, Anil, go ahead. Anil, go ahead, Anil. Can you hear? Well, I think something has happened to the connection. In the meantime, are there any other questions or any other thoughts on this?
Nalin, this is Roshi. Just a small concern.
Yes.
Yeah, as an industry, is there any possibility for us to highlight and introduce some formats for this, what do you call, standard operation manual or something like to all DMCs, where we all as one industry can maintain whenever we apply for the certification and so on,
Right.
so they can use the same format rather than we are having even for a small company or a bigger DMC. So everybody can have one manual.
Yeah. Are you? Do you want to have a manual that relates to the KPMG requirement, or is it going to be something different? And it is going to be unique to CITO, or what type of manual are you looking at?
You need to Slido as well as for all DMCs which they can use according to this KPM covering KPMG requirement as well.
Right. So I think that we can discuss and see whether we can come out with a document
Yeah.
that you're requesting.
Yeah.
Can I come back to you on that?
Thanks, Nalin. Thanks.
Yes. Any other question? let me try and get Anil online just a minute. Huh?
I'm online, Nali.
Anil, I think you got disconnected. Can you?
Sorry for that. I think as a DMC, I would say it was quite a challenging because because of our numbers, because of our divisions, and because we have to have uniformity, especially when you're talking of this kind of operation, because World Health Organization has already given a good recommendation of Sri Lanka controlling the COVID before the second wave, but I think still with the second wave we are quite good. And it is important that the tourism trade tell the tour operators and the clients that we are having a good control when they come to Sri Lanka to ensure that we have health protocols to protect them. As a company of Akin Spence, we had to go a little bit of extra than what Dr. Damien said, because we had to form a rapid response team because of the numbers what we have. Because we go into divisions like airport operations, resort reps, operations team, transport operations, and so on. But as Naren said, it was a headache when we saw it, but when we start moving on, and also as the doctor said, it became a part of it, and actually it was nothing much at the end of the day. But I believe it is good for everybody to go through this and take it, because then you know that your staff is safe, you are safe, and the clients are going to handle it safe.
Yeah. To add something, what has been already stated. And now I heard, some colleagues of mine in the trade, they were saying, now, these guests, they don't come to our offices. So what is the point, as long as, our transport operators conform to or adhere to the standards that are required. But then I was just thinking, by chance, if all the people in the organization gets COVID, say if there's an organization of 10 people, right? So all 10 get the COVID, and say if there are movements, if there are arrivals, I wonder what will happen, who will handle that operation, right? So I suppose even in a office, I suppose we need to adhere to health and safety regulations, as well as we need to conform to those standards, right? Those set of safety protocols. Otherwise, what will happen is there will be a disruption in the services that we need to offer to our clients. So that will not give the confidence to the tour operators. So that is another point. Though we say that the guests are not coming into our office, but we have to take into consideration other factors as well, and give that confidence to the tour operators, even in our offices, that we take all necessary precautions to ensure an operation without any disruption, right? So that is one of the thoughts that came into my mind. But I really agree with all of you. It's not easy, and especially for a small organization, right? When you're trying to survive, to sit and fill these forms and various things, it's not easy. But whatever the help that we can give, we will definitely extend whatever the help, the information that you all need, whatever the way we can, we will definitely do it. I think it is the same with Dr. Damien, and there will be few other DMCs that will get it. So definitely we will extend our support, right? That's all from my side. Any questions that you all have?
Hi Anil, Ratan from Pan Lanka. I actually, any of you all, I have a question. Apart from getting the certification for the DMCs, I think somebody mentioned that, so even the chauffeur guides or the guides have to get a separate certification independently. Is that right? And then they have to go through the same audit process and all of that?
Can I respond to that, Nali?
Yes, please go ahead, Daniel.
Yes, to answer the question is yes, all the shopper guides were supposed to register online on tourist board website, and during this week that test is on. So as per the health guidelines and the tourist board guidelines, the DMCs could use only these shopper guides who are holding the safe and secure certificate. The exams at the moment, I think it started day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a whole week. It is already on for the people who have already got registered. I hope I have answered the question.
Is it
So
correct?
I assume that they will have another round of exams or whatever for the ones that have not registered, no?
I'm sure because as per the Shopper Guide Association, they have about 1,200 registered. And at a given time, tourist board can have only 40 people in one of their classrooms. So they had about 4 per day. So I'm sure they will have to have some more rounds. I think, but it's better if you can.
Okay, thanks.
Anil, this is Kumar here. I just wanted to find out what will happen to the informal sectors like small hotels or like a small tree huts or adventure camps and people who are not registered with Sri Lanka tourism. I believe a lot of activities are taking place in various parts of Sri Lanka. So those people, how are we able to send, like even we get the certification from KPMG, and but people who are not registered or like who are in informal sector, how are they going to handle the situation? I mean, like how they're going to get benefit of the tourism?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. But of course, going by the letter written by the chairperson Sri Lanka Tourism, I wonder whether those people can engage in any business without the license. I really wonder. But of course, I'm not 100% sure about it. But now, say if the airport is open, this is a thought again. This is not a firm. Of course, it's not 100%. Say if the airport is open in January, initially with all these terms and conditions that has been proposed, I don't think that many people will come. Then hopefully by the second quarter, this vaccine will come into play and the vaccinations will take place. Then only the real movements will start, because now at the moment they are talking about minimum 14 nights, 3 PCR tests, one prior to boarding the aircraft, one hotel confined to a beach. So with all those terms and conditions, I really wonder, whether this is going to work or whether there will be any big numbers during that period if they're planning to open it that way. Then, of course, hopefully in Europe and some of our main source markets, the vaccine will come into play. Then these protocols and all that also gradually it might change, right? So that is what I foresee, but maybe I'm wrong, right? So of course, till then we will have to, according to the letter that has been written by this lady, we need to get this certification.
Thanks.
Anil, I'm David from Ceylon Roads.
Yes.
How do the jeep and boat suppliers also have to go through this registration?
If it is difficult for us, just imagine how a boat supplier is going to feel that.
This is what I'm wondering. So if we are going to use them like for whale watching and safaris,
Yes.
how are we going to handle that scenario?
Yeah. Now, I just want to check. I'm also not very sure about it. I will ask this question from Dr. Damien. Damien, now for these both suppliers and all, is there a separate questionnaire or is it the same type of questionnaire that they have?
Now, I mean, Nalin, I looked at the categories in that registration. So it has DMCs, hotels, tour guides, and chauffeurs. So there are no categories for the boat suppliers and other suppliers. So basically, as DMCs in our level, what we have done for the moment is we have done a document and has sent to our boat suppliers saying that this is what we expect, this is how you should operate with regard to our clients. So which we have informed KPMG and SLTDA. But whether these people need to get a separate certification is a question at the moment, because there is no such application process at the moment.
Okay, so that's good. Hopefully they work through us and we cover them, right?
Correct, correct.
But at the same time, just to add to that, at the same time, all the locations, they can contact the respective PHIs and they will come and do inspection and see whether they are following basic requirements, and they will give a report. It's not easy. They will just give a report telling that, because I checked with few small hotels out of Colombo, definitely. And what the PHS said is they will come and do an inspection and see whether they are following the basic requirements, and they will give a report that they are following. So at least that will give some kind of a support to that whatever the organization or the boat supplier, whoever it is, whatever the supplier, to fall in line with that. Then, as Doctor said, we as we have also done, we can ask the suppliers to comply with our requirement, and we can use them. But only thing is, as per the health guideline, they said, especially whale watching, the food what they will give on the boat needs to be hygienic and fully packed, because otherwise they normally give it in open sort of a packet or a bag. But the guideline book, it clearly says if it's especially whale watching, it has to be completely sealed, hygienically done, a food packet which could be served on board. That's what only it says as far as the suppliers are concerned.
Anil, are the people allowed to go to the sites like temples and like inside the national parks and everything? So how are they going to do that health and safety audit for those places? And including trains?
National parks, the parks, it's only the jeeps, but they have to ensure that they follow the protocol, because most of the national park you can't get off except that one location. So what they say is, we have the jeeps only. The jeep supplier has to ensure that, or our jeep supplier or your jeep supplier has to ensure that they follow the protocol. That's all. Other than that, for that particular park, there is no.
Temples?
And as per guidelines, what we see is the chauffeur guide or the guide who takes them to any sites needs to avoid gathering places. If you go to, for example, if you go to Polonnaruwa and if you see a lot of people gathered in Galvihar, you should not, the guide or the chauffeur guide should not take your clients off there. Try to avoid that and go slightly do a different D route and come back and explain that, not to gather there. That is what only says for the sites.
My personal view on that.
Just to answer that question, Nalin, correct me if I'm wrong, about using this informal sector hotels which don't get the certification. I think according to the last communique, only hotels that are registered or got the certification we can use, and we have to share the itinerary. So in that itinerary, if you use informal sector, the client won't get the visa. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Now, if you look at what has been proposed,
yeah.
If you're talking about opening of the airport and start tourism in January, right? Then what will happen is, what has been proposed is, to my knowledge, only the beach resorts and there is this level called the level 1, right? So it has to be a hotel on the beach, except villas and boutique properties. Those can be located anywhere in the country. But when it comes to normal, regular hotels, it has to be a hotel on the beach, right? So then, according to what I know, locals are not allowed into those level 1 hotels if they are catering to the foreign segment, right? So that is how it's going to work initially. Then if it's an informal sector hotel, say for example, if it's a 1-star hotel which has not been certified, definitely we will not be able to use that per hotel. Yeah, because it has to be according to what I heard, it has to be a hotel that is certified by KPMG, and it has to be a hotel on the beach, or it has to be a boutique hotel which is located anywhere in Sri Lanka. It can be interior, it can be on the beach, but it has to be a boutique or a villa.
And if I just share my view of this airport opening, Anil and Nalin and the rest of them, I mean, my personal idea is there are lots and lots of gray areas about this airport opening. I mean, if you think about the document which came out yesterday, I mean, as Nalin, you said, the health authorities, we don't know whether the health authorities have approved this. And I don't think there are industry people like Slido has given their inputs to this. Or this document is just published. And some of our Sri Lankan operators, so through WhatsApp or Viber, which has gone to even agents, they are calling and asking us the validation of this document, whether the airport is opening on the 1st, whether it is operating, but we can't give concrete answers to our agents because it's just a draft document. So at the moment there is no concrete decision or concrete protocols, concrete guidelines with regard to this. So I think most of us are in a gray area about this airport opening on the 1st. This is what I personally believe.
Yeah, Cabral, I think.
Yes, I think. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think you are aware. I think there was a discussion yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Then there is another meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow. Right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the minister has appointed a committee, like Tilak and Hiran from the trade and some health officials. So we will have to wait for the outcome of that meeting, and that might not be the final meeting. There might be a series of meetings before they agree on the mechanism with regard to how they are going to open the airport and on which day. But from what I hear, they are looking at January, but I'm not quite sure about the exact date and the mechanism or how the modalities, how they are going to work it out. So I think the health authorities and the trade, as well as SLTDA, SLTPB, the authorities also will have to come to some agreement on that. Right. So we'll have to wait for the outcome of these discussions, and the first the meeting is going to happen tomorrow.
Shall we start the last presentation for SME sector, and then maybe then we can have some Q&A session for about 10 minutes, Nalin? Is that okay? Because I see some people are leaving. I think they think that this the webinar is going to be over. So I see that some people are leaving. So maybe it's useful for them to know about the SME sector, some of the difficulties that they face. So may I start that, Nalin?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So good evening. I'm Darshana Cabral from TourBlue. We are SME the company. We have about 20 to 21 team members. First of all, I like to thank Bobby for initiating this event to Slido, and thank you Slido and One Voice. Also thank Dr. Damien and Nalin for your wonderful the presentation, which is very useful. What I will do is I will show you a sample of SOP, standard operating procedures, what we have done for KPMG. Then I will do a small presentation for about 3 minutes of some of the challenges and difficulties what we have gone through during the KPMG project, and then a couple of nitty-gritties. Can you see this, please? If you can see this, this is actually our SOP what we have prepared for KPMG. Bobby, can you see?
Darshana, sorry, we can't see your screen.
Can't see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There you are. I think now you can see that. Paddy, can you see this screen?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
so
yes,
this is what we have prepared for KPMG, SOP like a PDF format. SOP, what we did actually, we collected KPMG questionnaire, Q&A, and then also we also have put some our thoughts, and we put everything we put for this SOP. So this is very useful, even not during the KPMG the exercise. Even after that, this is useful to share with our team members and partners and guides. So what we have done is we have done a bit of a the introduction, and then we have gone to the table of content, where we have given for our clients, for our service providers, and then if I'm running too fast, just tell me so that I can, but this is just for you to get an idea about what we have done as SOP. So basically we have done a pre-arrival checklist, health and tour declaration form, general COVID safety measures to be taken during the tour, and items to carry while on tour. This is for our clients. And then for our service providers, we have taken about some of the revision of travel plans, first night close to the airport, whatever the ideas that you have come to this project, put everything as subjects, and then explain in detail. Then these are the general measures that we have shown them, team, and then our clients, and hotel chauffeurs, guides, jeeps, and excursions. And then we have gone into detail about in explaining about how we do each and every point. Even this is a checklist, health and tour declaration form to be filled for each member of the traveling group. They need to send this before their arrival. Like this is the health checklist. This is the general COVID safety measures to be taken during the tour. Again, point 2, point 3, point 2.4, items to carry while on tour. These are the things that we recommend them to take during the tour. Then for our service providers, in case if revision of travel plans, pre-arrival, on tour. So these are the revision of travel plans. Then before August, there was a circular came first night closer to the airport. So as based on that, we have done this SOP. I think some of the guidelines may have changed now, but we have put that information also as point number 3.2. And then if they are not adhering to the guidelines, what are the steps that we are going to take? So we need to put that also into our SOP. Again, then all arrangements to be made only with SLTDA registered the establishments. Yes, we have explained that very clearly. Then registration of SLTDA, the chauffeurs and guides. These are the the points that we have covered. And also we need to give them a declaration about their background, their name, emergency contact details for our chauffeurs and guides. Then if someone may get COVID symptoms, these are the steps that we need to follow. 3.6, we need to contact the health authorities, and there are areas, and also we have given some emergency numbers. And then these are the things that during the tour: sanitize, face mask, temperature, baggage sanitization, hand sanitizer, vehicle sanitizations, equipments. So all this is also we have covered in our SOP. Again, then 3.8 is vehicle cleaning checklist on tour. So every morning and evening they need to do, sanitizations. We have also gone into detail. There are areas that in the vehicle everyone touch, like the AC button, the handles, seats, where the driver or the chauffeur need to sanitize twice a day. So there are things that we have gone into detail in our SOP. Procedure to follow post-tour. What are the things that the chauffeurs, guides need to follow after the tour? Documentation and so on. So this is actually the SOP. I just want to give you an idea about the SOP, what we have gone through. Then I will go to the small presentation just to give in, some. Yeah. Okay. So this will show. Actually, about a Sri Lanka holiday for of one couple who is going to come to Sri Lanka. So what we did, our team of 3 people did a session where we gather all the details about, like, imaging, that we are handling the entire process. This is how we did it as SME company. So what we did, we started from the beginning, receiving a confirmation from the agent. So then what are the steps that we need to do that at this stage? Forward the checklist to the agent, ask their holiday prior to arriving to Sri Lanka, these things, like we did a checklist. Then second stage is that we need to allocate a driver or chauffeur or guide for this particular tour or the arrival transfer. So that we need to see whether this person is, carrying a negative the PCR test, because they very clearly said that you need to obtain a negative PCR test from every driver or chauffeur. But then we said, who is going to absorb the charges for every? They said, yes, maybe you can absorb to the tour file the PCR test, the cost. So which we inform them is practically is not going to possible, but if this is going to be a standard SOP, we will include that. So we have to request the chauffeurs and the guides to bring a negative PCR test as they required. This is required by them. Then the guidelines to share with driver, chauffeur, or the guide on how to disinfect the vehicles, the common areas in the vehicles to disinfect twice a day. So this also we have to give before the arrival to our chauffeur or the driver, that he need to be aware of certain things. Then arrival day of handling the airport operation, or how an airport rep or staff who is going to meet the clients or the driver, what are the steps that they need to follow when it comes to post-COVID situation. Then if they are doing a round tour, the arrangements during the round tour, the hotels and the driver and carrying sanitizers, all these things that we need to be ready for that. Then visiting 2 attractions, national park, or train ride or public transportation. We inform very clearly that we are going to avoid public transport. Even the SLTDA, they said that to avoid public transport, the tourists cannot use public transport. National park, yes, we can. Tourist attraction, yes, but then also Kandy Temple and Colombo City Tour, we inform that we are going to avoid for the couple of first months because this is very crowded. So we have to, make sure where are they going, what are the places that they are going. So this is also, we have to, think about it. Then, in case if one lady, the Mrs. One Voice, feeling sick, and what are the steps to follow? So this also we need to, this is again, step by step. So what are the things that we need to, take steps, call health authorities and the local mission, like that. Then, if they are going to the beach day after the round tour, what is the process that we have to follow? If they are going to a beach hotel, yes, coordinated beach hotel. If that hotel is definitely has to be a KPMG certified hotel. So this is again a follow. Then the last one is the departure of the couple. After that, what are the documentation that we need to handle. So that also important that the chauffeur, how often he's going to come to the office to hand over the tour settlements, and then the client's departure, whether it's okay. Even post departure, there's a checklist where what is the next destination of the client. So these things also, documentation is important. Then this is our time frame we have gone through during this KPMG process as a SME company, where we applied on the 20th August online. Then on the 30th August, we received the email from KPMG to go through the process, like the Excel sheet, but Dr. Damien explained. Then on the 2nd September, we sent our proposal. It was very tireless, but we work hard, myself and my team, including Chambras, our head of operations, and transport manager. So we three of us, we did the proposal, initial proposal to KPMG. Then on the 30th September, they visited our office. They had an interview. On the 9th of October, they sent a few questions where we answered on the 13th of October. Then after that, we called on 16th November because we were waiting for an answer. But then we called KPMG, and then they said that you will receive an answer from SLTDA. So 19th November, we received the approval. These are some of the nitty-gritties, but these are very important to remember. What we did when they were in our office, we showed them about our marketing materials and what we have done to bring tourists to the country. Like Dr. Damien said, some of the KPMG team, they may be not very much thorough about the tourism sector, but they are good in their job. So, but we need to show them of what we have done, marketing materials and etc. And then, like Dr. Damien said, be detailed in every area. Your explanation has to be very, very, very detailed. Then do not stick to the questionnaire, because think out of the box and present a unique proposal. So we should not stick to the Excel sheet. Go out of the box. Think about some of the things like I mentioned to you, like most common areas in the vehicle that we need to clean that, sanitize it, like that. Some of the things that go out of the box and present. Not for KPMG, even in future operation. This is going to be important. This is what I would like to emphasize here. And then YSOP, it's like a KPMG Excel sheet, Q&A, and our suggestion then going to be the SOP. So it's important that we have to have a separate SOP. Together with the Excel sheet, you need to send this SOP. This was the one qualification we had, where we sent the SOP together with the Excel sheet. So I recommend everyone to prepare the Excel sheet, attach your other supporting documents, and also send your SOP. What you declare, you need to be proved. Otherwise, like a thermometer. We declared 4 thermometer because we have a limited number of vehicles. But then at the time of the inspections, we only had 1 because we said we didn't want to buy all, knowing we don't know when the airport going to open because it's costly. They said if you have declared 4, you need to see 4. So where we had to stick to our declaration. And then again, you need to follow up with KPMG after sending your proposal. Just don't be silent. Just give them a call and follow up. Yeah. And then, yes, and thank you everyone. And I wish everyone successful the proposal. And
seen, I think, 2 presentations, and I think from the information I have, I think up to about 10 DMCs have got this certification. So definitely, whatever the help that we can extend to our colleagues, we will. What I suggest is, Dr. Damien and Abra, can you all share your presentation with the rest of the colleagues with the 2 associations and circulate it? And if there are any further questions or clarifications that are necessary, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Yes,
Fourth thing
please.
is at the destination, let's be ahead of our competitors. So I think though it's hard work, let's work and try and get this certification sorted out. Right? It's difficult, no doubt, and especially for the smaller DMCs. But I think our efforts will not go in vain. Right? So let's work together. Bobby, thank you very much for your efforts and for your suggestion to get everybody together.
Yeah.
Of course, on behalf of the president and Nishad, we thank all of you as the secretary and hope we'll be ready by January with the necessary or the essential certifications and be ready for the business.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So all the best to everybody and stay safe. Thank you.
yeah. Also one more thing, Nalin, as a SME, a smaller company, I want to encourage everyone to apply and go through this process. We also had like a first impression, how are we going to do that? There are bigger companies. Sometime we will definitely will not get it, but we have gone through it and we have proved that even SME company can win this certificate. So therefore, I tell everyone, go through this. This will be very useful, not for this certification, even for future your activities. Hence, this has to be done. Whether even if they are going to soften some of the regulations after discussing with KPMG, but still, it's fully worth that we go through this thing. And I wish everyone
Yeah, we'll
success.
at 6 o'clock. Okay. Got it.
Okay, thanks.
Bobby, you are mute. Bobby, you are on
Thank
mute.
you very much, Bobby. Thank you very much, Bobby.
Bobby, we can't hear you.
And Nalin, for
Can't hear.
everything. Bobby, you're muted.
I just want to know, do we know about how many certificates have already been given to the industry?
Damien, will you be able to answer that question?
I think according to asset last week, Friday, there were about 8 DMCs has received approval. There were 88 DMCs I think applied. About 8 DMCs has 8 to 10 DMCs has received approval.
Oh, okay, thank you. So it's about a 3-month process, is it?
we had 3 months actually, but
Yeah.
that was the initial stage. So therefore, I don't think now also they have now corrected some of the delays. Hence, I don't think it will take that long. But just for information, I have given that the time frame to know that this is the next step. This is the next step. This is the next step. Therefore, sometimes it will not take 3 months. Now that they have more staff and now the industry is looking at it about this KPMG certificate, so they must be using their best to get the approval.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Bobby, we can't hear you. Are you? Right. So can we conclude the meeting, Nishad, if there is nothing more to discuss? Nishad, Bobby, can we conclude the meeting? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.